Thank you very much for having me on board. This is the first time I'm participating in this very nice conference. I've been listening all the panels in the morning. So basically what I need to say is I'm a lawyer. I'm not saying that because I'm trying to show off, which is normal case for lawyer, but I would like to focus that I think that my research method is a little bit different that was presented in the morning. And I think that the whole structure of presentation that is based on case law and on existing legislation differs a little bit from the presentations in the morning. So yeah, I'm just going to set up this time limit. Okay. I need to give one more remark. I'm based now in Taiwan. I'm a visiting fellow here at National Taiwan University doing research on platform work in Taiwan. But normally I do work in Warsaw at the Faculty of Law and Administration and the School of Law and Economy of China. So basically my story goes as it is presented on the second slide. So basically, I want to share some conclusions from my own still ongoing research on platform work in China, US, and in the European Union. So the first part of presentation is about I want to address the question how algorithms in labor law, in the law of People's Republic of China, are reshaping existing very obsolete, traditional, strict rules of labor law in the law of People's Republic of China. So this is the part when I'm discussing as existing legislation and how algorithms in platform work change the very content, how these laws are being understood now by academia and by the judges. The second part goes to the lege ferenda idea, so how the new phenomenon of algorithms may reshape the existing legislation and how they may promote new ideas about work, not only in a platform economy. So basically, we need to start with the very basic distinction between in labor law, which is the same in China, US, in many countries in the European Union. So our starting point is if you are conducting work by yourself, you may be classified as a worker or someone who is a self-employed, who is a business person. So this is very strict economous distinctions also that being implemented in Chinese labor law, which is based on a law that was implemented in 1994. Then we have a basic law on promotion of contract law from 2007. So this is very traditional way of understanding how the work is being regulated by the states or by the trade unions and employers associations. So the thing here is that if you are conducting work in a way that you can be classified as a dependent person, then the country, the government protects you. They produce a law that protects you. They cover you with the social law, social security schemes. In case you are doing overtime work, you're being covered by laws that protect your interest. If you are not classified as an employee, then you are on your own. You need to pay for your own retirement, sick leave, and so on. So there, as Latin says, tertium non datum. So if you can be either employee or self-employed persons, and this system works also in China. As for platform work, we all know that it started in China circa at 2010, 11, 12. There was a huge paradise, or we can say El Dorado for platform work. Tech companies invested a lot of money, and they also tried to find as many careers as possible, especially in food delivery industry. But it ended more or less at 2016, when the market was dominated by huge two companies, so monopolies, Meituan, LME. So at that point, they started to use the monopolical position at the market, and it's not starting from that day is not really a good job for the regular worker. So the first case laws starts over there when the platform workers start to dispute with the tech companies that they are claim that they are workers, and the companies disagree. And what we see in the first phase is a lack of any guidelines or existing laws that may help judges to decide who is a worker and who stays outside of the employment law. But we have many cases that are showing us that the judges are using algorithm as an instrument to identify a subordination. So previously they used organization, personal, or economic coordination as a factors to determine who is a worker. But when the platform worker cases just popped up, they start to use they need to understand how algorithms control the work of worker, how you can be dismissed by the algorithm itself. So we had some new original ideas about algorithmic dependency. So we have many cases in this respect. So this is one of the example. We still do remember that the judges are believing in Marxism, and one of the basic idea of Marxism ideology is the main of production. So this is a very interesting case where in fact judge was using a Marxism methodology to define the case law of coming from the platform work economy. So district court in Beijing said basically what is well known, that we all say that in digital economy, this is the data is the oil. Yeah. So in that specific case, judge followed this argument. They said, okay, even if the platform work has own car and insured the car, the thing that created his dependency, his or her dependency, was the data by themselves, which is covered by algorithm, by the tech company. So basically, this is one of the this is the phases. This is the trend that the judges were left by themselves to decide how the algorithms are reshaping existing labor law. The first reactions coming from the central government happened in 2021 when they implemented the guiding opinions. The guiding opinions are not statutory law, so you cannot base your remedies, you cannot base your claim on that. The guiding opinions is more for the companies, is more for the local government. So basically what you see in those in red, these are two avenues you may go. So you can be a worker or you can be self-employed. What is in the middle is super important, because this is the first time that the Chinese central administrations notified, they approved existing or the third category of workers that are being described partly by algorithms. If only you are dependent because your company is using algorithms, you may be easy classified as a worker itself. So from labor law perspective, it's a kind of a revolutionary it's not a legislation, but a U-turn when it comes to the labor law in China. So that's the first part of the presentation. The other one is, once you already decide that you are a worker, yeah, so you are dependent. So your boss may say you, okay, Piotr, today you are going to work in a overtime. You go there, you do whatever I want. And this is classic contract law agreement. What is interesting in Chinese discussion in academia about algorithms, they are saying that algorithms goes way beyond the contractual relations of the parties, because the algorithm is creating invisible legislations. You are more dependent than before, simply because algorithms first the employer is collecting a lot of data about your health, about your behavior, how you react on different levels when you are taking break or nap. So this explain the direct intervention of the legislator. There is a need of protection of these new forms of dependency. So this is the first reaction. This is the only single provision of existing law that you can base your remedy in front of the court, which is Article 20, Article 20 of the algorithm recommendation law that was implemented in March 22. We all know that this is not a labor law protection law. This has to do mainly with the algorithm recommendations about what's happening in the market and so on. So this is only one, it came out of the blue. Why in this regulation there is a one specific provision for labor law contractors, but this is the story for another discussion. So we have a existing law, and if tech companies doesn't follow these instructions, because it's very vague when it comes to, from legal perspective, it's very vague. It's very difficult to base your claim on this specific provision. Comparing to the European provisions, when we have a whole chapter on algorithmic management and platform work, this is, we may say, poor legislation. Another thing is we're going back to the guiding opinions that were implemented in 2021. We have a procedural aspects of how the algorithm may be regulated. So as you see, it's a call for the tech companies first to formulate and revise system of platform algorithm. Then there's an invitation for the trade unions to be a part of the parties that negotiate that, because they are invited to be consulted on that, and the company are obliged to create a special avenue in case that the employee or the trade union does not like the effect of the algorithm. So what is super important, and I had 30 seconds, what is super important for the Chinese model of regulating the algorithm in the workplace is, and we don't see that in European unions, is they divide it into two pillars. One is they focusing on the procedural aspects of building an algorithm at the company level. So right to participate of the trade unions, right to reject of the effect of the algorithm. This is very similar what is happening now in the European Union. What is specific for the Chinese model is that they are also creating, or at least they try to create, laws that touch upon the very essence of the algorithm. So they are trying to open up the black box and explain how it shouldn't be regulated. So we have the whole story of the strictest algorithms that are being implemented in platform work, which are not really relaxed. They don't care about the weather condition. They don't care about the traffic. The aim is to deliver the food as fast as possible. So on the other side, we have a discussion on moderate algorithms that have been already implemented by the food delivery companies, which is more relaxed. They are taking into account the interest of the working people. They take care of the health, safety, and so on. So I think that will be what is super interesting from the European perspective, from US perspective, is this ongoing discussions in China on that. So these are very general conclusions about information asymmetry. Since I exceeded a little bit time, I can stop here. If there is any questions, I can develop later on during the QA session. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone. And I think this is my second time participating in the CIRC. So my name is Elisa. I'm a lecturer in digital cultures from the Department of Media and Communications at the University of Sydney. Now, today I'm going to talk about the algorithmic culture on Douyin and TikTok. And this is actually based on my book titled Douyin, TikTok, and China's Online Screen Industry, The Rise of Short Video Platforms. The central idea is about the recommendation algorithms employed by the ByteDance, the parent company of Douyin and TikTok. But then I just want to quickly introduce about the context here so that everyone knows what I'm talking about. Now, our impressions of China have changed from copycat nation to the rival of Silicon Valley in the past 20 years of time. So why has China become or is becoming a superpower in the digital world? Is it a fleeting phenomenon or a lasting makeover? And then the two burning questions that comes from this would be why China and why TikTok? So why this nation, not any other countries in the world? And then why TikTok, this particular app that captured the global attention? Now, this is the overview of the chapters in the book. So for the first question, why China? We have technology affordances supported by the national policies, which witnessed the rise of the giants. Here we refer to by Alibaba and Tencent, and also along with ByteDance. And then all of these, the technology and state policy push, managed to influence the creative labor in the online sphere. So here is a list of the state policies. We've got the special economic zone, the national policies, the 5-year plans, and so forth, which transformed the industry development that brought up the rise of the giants. And then we've got the ByteDance. And then we have seen the creative labor, the online creators, moving from the traditional field to online spaces. So for the second question, why TikTok? Now here's an interesting fact. If we look at this table here, you will realize that TikTok is not the first player in the short video field. So we've got Vine, which is developed by Twitter in 2012, and then we've got Flippergram, Musical RY, and then by the time of 2016, we have Douyin in China. But then before Douyin, we've got Kuaishou, right? So Kuaishou is even, it was the dominant player at the time. So if Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, is not the first nor the leading player in the field, why TikTok becomes a global phenomenon, the most popular app in the world? So we have some figure here. It's a little bit outdated, but then we could safely say that TikTok, by the time of 2022, it was the most popular app, which generated 3.5 billion downloads. And then the success of the app is attributable to a series of market decisions and the secret weapon, which is the algorithms. So algorithms segregated or combined serves as a cornerstone of the company. And then to some extent, these platforms are regarded as algorithm-based online video services that offer personalization and entertainment. The mystery lies in its addictive design, the discursive strategies to avoid transparency. The machine learning algorithms are opaque to human beings because they are not formulated to explain the results to humans. And then therefore, the black box is intentionally designed and coalesced. It is black, intentionally designed and coalesced by the entire industry. So the tailored videos are generated and refined via users' responsive behaviors. And then scholars have discovered that the TikTok addiction is becoming a widespread phenomenon, and such addiction has a close relationship with algorithmic optimization. So there is a very important concept here, which is called the user profiling. So it forms the basis for collaborative filtering algorithms, which are used to match content to users according to similar behavioral data. And then this leads to another concept of automated connectivity, which highlights the role of algorithms in engineering and manipulating connections, especially in commercial contexts, which leads us to this formula here. So we know that social media platforms, they would recommend content to us, but then in the meantime, we will see advertisements, right? So they have to sort of balance the number of ads that we see when we are using their recommendation algorithms. And then this is the sort of equation that we're receiving from the engineers that worked at the ByteDance. So higher advertising frequency equals to higher content quality plus higher recommendation accuracy. Now, according to the insiders at ByteDance, Douyin and TikTok follows a frequency of 5/2. So this means of every 5 posts, it is followed by 2 advertisements. And then they are aware of the concerned fatigue, user fatigue that generated from this. Some would argue that it's too frequent, like every 5 posts we will see 2 advertisements. But then they're trying their best to balance it out because it's a tricky task. And then if they want to reduce the fatigue level from the users, they need to increase the accuracy of their recommendation algorithms. So this is basically the general framework that they're using for the recommendation algorithms at Douyin and ByteDance. Now, we have 4 steps here. The first one is initial selection. The second one is recall. The third one is precise ranking. And the last one is mixed ranking. So of all the posts that we receive from the platform, they all comes from 200 posts. So of the tens and billions of posts they have on the platform, they start filtering and then pushing and start circulating and applying the model from 200 posts. Now the 200 posts would go into a small content pool, and then they would go a very initial content moderation process, which goes to the second step of recall. And then if everything is clear, they move back to the small content pool and then transfer everything to the large content pool. And after this, they go into the second step, which is the recall. So here they would recall content based on the user preferences and the specific items. And the specific items here refer to the things that might violate local legislations, all the things that they think should be recalled at this step. And after this, you go into the precise ranking, where you've got the approved content. So they start ranking the content according to the user profiles. And then they also add the localize the content into the mix. And then finally, we've got the mixed ranking. So here they are trying to come up with ways, a very mixed ranking. They would decide the ranking of the content based on the approved content and also localized content. If everything's fine, they will do a final check, and then they will recommend content to each and every user. So from this process, we can see that user profiling is super important. And then when we speak about user profiling, it means that they need to collect data from the users so that they can be, so that this enables them to track user behavior and then receive responsive data. Now, the ways that they receive data include, for example, the search. For example, we like, comment, and then when we search on the platform, these are all calculated are all calculated as the responsive data. And then user feedback is also very important to the algorithm as well. The most machine learning contains imitations, which is not news to us these days. So imitations of human behavior to complete predictions. And then it is an orchestrated action that requires operation from all parties. So here, what I'm trying to argue is that when we talk about recommendation algorithms, we think that it is like one system. But then essentially, when it comes to Douyin and TikTok, or maybe any other platforms, it's actually an orchestrated system. So it's not just the recommendation algorithm, it's the interface design. It is how this company or this platform evolves around the central idea of the algorithms that makes it better. So for example, if we take Xiaohongshu, the other Chinese version of Instagram as an example, it is a platform that encourages users searching behavior. But TikTok and Douyin, you you would clearly see that they're not encouraging your searching behavior to any level. So when you open the app, they only give you the For You page, and then it makes the searching option almost invisible on the platform, because they think that this would disrupt your using experience. And then the algorithm on Douyin and TikTok has succeeded, but it is the success of the ecosystem, not the glory of one night. It demonstrates orchestrated operations in a way that is immersive, addictive, in some cases seem dangerous to users. Studies on TikTok users' behavior mention the continuous engagement with algorithms. And then there is a logic that relies heavily on machine learning. So currently we have some regulations on the recommendation algorithms. For example, the Chinese government had issued legislation asking the algorithms to give users the option of turn off, so opt out from the algorithms. But then some critics have been trying to say that, we should be giving people the option of opting in instead of opting out. But of course, we need further discussions on how this right to users should be given as to what means and how. But then that is all for my presentation today. Thank you everyone for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a master student from University of Minnesota, and I'm really honored today to present my ongoing work. And the title is Gaming with Algorithmic Scoring System, a case study of Douyin platform governance. And it is an empirical study, and it focuses on the content moderation practices on Douyin. And I specifically focuses on a typical feature called the health scoring system. It was launched just the beginning of this year. And let me first introduce a bit about the rule of the health scoring system. It was designed to manage the streamers on the Douyin platform. And we can see from the table here that under this system, every streamer is assigned a score, and the full score is like 100 points, and the point will be deducted if the streamers break some platform content rules. And then the platform will categorize the streamers into different levels and impose different types of sanctions on these streamers. For example, they might be reduced the recommendation, or they might also be banned from entering the PK, or entering the ranking, or banned from the PK, using the PK feature in order to monetize their streaming content. So my initial purpose is I feel very interested in this stream system, and I want to explore how the streamers, they perceive this system or interact with this system. And my literature review part mainly linked to two aspects of the past literature. The first one is algorithmic content moderation and transparency. As we all perceive that the algorithm has already become the major role in content moderation on the major platforms. And it has long been criticized much for its low transparency. One reason is the black box of the algorithm. And the other reason is that the platform policies are always really vague and opaque, and it cannot be really certain or specific. So there is one example called shadow banning. This is one of the most mysterious content moderation strategies, and it refers to reducing the visibility and make the post less likely to be seen or accessible to non-followers on the platform. And this is really opaque because it always happens without any explanation, and it's really hard to prove that you are truly being shadow banned by the platform. According to Professor Coulter's paper, she conceptualized this as black box gaslighting, and she holds the view that platform uses this kind of strategies to create cognitive gaps between the platform and the users, and thus obtain the authority over the content moderation interpretation. So because of the lack of knowledge, the streamers, those content creators on the platform, they have to formulate folk theories in order to respond to the content moderation strategies. So from the past literature, it appears that the Douyin scoring system appears to be a more like transparent content moderation system. So this interests me that how the streamers, they truly perceive the health scoring system on Douyin platform. Secondly, I also connected my project to the literature on digital labor. Under this framework, the content creators can be framed as the creative labor, and they share the relationship with the platform as the capital and the labor relation. I aim to adopt the labor process theory in my study, mainly focused on the control concept. It can be, simply speaking, it can be understood as the employer. They use different strategies to foster the transformation from the labor power into commodity. Until now, most literature talking about labor process theory in the digital era focused on the gig worker platform. So a typical similar case here is the Uber rating system, because the platform allows the users to rate the Uber driver. So this really forces the drivers to improve their customer service in order to improve their rating score. In my study, I kind of theorized the scoring system as a control strategy over the creative labor on the platform. And I'm really curious about whether this health scoring system will also act as a control over streamers to make them comply with the platform content policies. So here are my research questions. The first one is about how they perceive the transparency of the scoring system. And the second question is about how they cope with the scoring system. And the third one is kind of afflictive to the second one, is talk about how do they feel, whether they feel they are under control by the platform through the scoring system. In order to answer my research question, I adopt the interview method. And I'm now still doing the very first round of my interview, and I had semi-structured interview with 12 streamers. I recruited them by posting advertisements on major social media platforms, mainly the Xiaohongshu, and also using direct contact through the private message feature on Douyin platform. These are the demographic information, the basic information about the interviewees. You can see from the table here that the participants now come from a wide range of areas. Some are selling the products through streaming, and very few did some talk show sharing live by the streaming content. Since my project involves two concepts, the first one is transparency and the second one is control. And I operationalize this mainly from these parts based on the previous research, including which content triggers moderation, why the decision is made that way, and who is moderating. It is algorithm or human moderator. As for the control concept, I operationalize in my interview as the impact on the user activity. Some interview questions like how often they pay attention to the score, like what strategies they use to add more points to the scores, what their actions have changed on the platform compared to the past. And now I only have some preliminary findings. To answer the first question, many participants do perceive that the health scoring system to be transparent to some extent. Some participants mentioned that in the interview, there are really common prohibited words in their fields. And also, they told me how they know the content is violating the rules, as during the streaming, sometimes there will be some pop-up window informing that you are saying something forbidden. And also afterwards, after the streaming, the platform also sends the clips of violations videos, pointing out that this some certain word is crossing the line. And also consider that it is primarily the algorithm doing moderation, because most of the time the moderation just happens really instantly during the streaming. The stream might be suddenly stopped or shut down by the authority. So as for the outcome or penalty of the point deduction, many participants, they told me that they perceive that the shadow banning is truly happening if they experience the point deduction. And the second part of my findings involve the control. And I see that many participants, they are truly doing something that comply with the platform policy under the scoring system. For example, they maintain the scores as a routine. Some of them, they will sort out the common forbidden words in their field and avoid them during the daily streaming activities. And some will define the time that they experience the very low score at the crisis period. And during that time, they try to stop taking risk for the traffic, but would like to live stream in a more stable manner. Another response is to learn and review. To improve the score, streamers will take exams and complete the learning videos created by the platform. And they told me that it was not just a format process to add the points, but sometimes they will learn some new rules from these exams and will update to the whole team about the new policy by the platform. Also, they might also exit or restart because sometimes the score is just too low. It's like maybe 50, it's only 15, so it's really hard to improve the score. So this low score gives them this kind of confirmation that they are perceived as low credit on the platform and will not get high traffic. So they would quickly change the plan and restart an account by another mobile phone number. So now I only have the first round of the interviewees and the preliminary findings. So as for the next step, I'm going to specify the fields of the streamers. For example, I want to know like whether the streamers in the e-commerce e-commerce field and the entertainment streamers are the same, whether the entertainment streamers they will also matter the health scoring system. And I'm also think of combining other methods like doing texture analysis of the streaming content. So this is all my presentation today. I would really appreciate any comment, critiques, or suggestions. Thank you very much.
Practices across Chinese and non-Chinese platforms.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Ziying Meng. I'm from University of Melbourne and now I'm in my final year of PhD. So today I'm presenting part of my PhD project, which is titled Cross-Platform Sensitivity and Algorithmic Adaptability, How Transnational Creators Navigate Algorithms Across Chinese and US-based platforms. I would like to begin with the background of this research, which is looking at the transnational context of Chinese Wanghong industry and the social media entertainment built around US platforms such as YouTube. Even though the Chinese Wanghong industry is quite distinct from its Western counterpart, we also see the rise of global Wanghong, and they are the ones that navigate between different platform ecosystems, with notable examples like Li Ziqi, that's the one on your left-hand side, the Chinese creator who broke the record of having a Chinese language YouTube channel with the most subscribers. And on your right-hand side is from Mr. Beast, one of the most popular YouTubers, American YouTuber, who joined Bilibili earlier this year. So my research looks at examples of global Wanghong, or what I call as transnational creators and their algorithmic knowledge production and practices across Chinese and US-based platforms. So here are the platforms that I look at, which are the ones that also popular among my research participants, including Bilibili, Weibo, Xiaohongshu or Little Red Book, WeChat, Douyin, and ByteDance ecosystem. I call them as ecosystem because all these like Toutiao and Xigua Video, they are from the same company. And then you can basically just push like one click and then distribute to all their services: TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So here is a quick overview of the relevant literature surrounding social media users, algorithmic imaginaries, and folk theories. Although platform algorithms have a black box nature, scholars draw on users' perceptions and practice to understand algorithmic power and its influences. So this idea of algorithmic imaginary, introduced by Taina Bohe, looking at the ways of thinking about what algorithms are, what they should be, how they function, and what these imaginations in turn make possible. Users, may not understand the functionality of algorithms, but they can acquire algorithmic imaginaries and folk theories, which in turn guide their behavior on social media. There's also a growing thread of research focusing on social media creators and influencers whose experience are quite different from ordinary users' perception of algorithms, because for many creators and influencers, they are more reliant on social media and highly incentivized to learn about algorithmic knowledge, since algorithms might determine their online visibility. So there are two important concepts here. One is algorithmic gossip, and the other one is playing the visibility game. So these studies show that creators can learn about algorithms in different ways and manipulate algorithms to make themselves and their content to be seen. Current literature on algorithmic literacy and visibility practice is mainly based on the investigation of a single platform, notably Instagram and YouTube. Creators' experience of algorithmic visibility across Chinese and US-based platforms is less known, or shall I say unknown. So to address this research gap, I want to use my case study of transnational creators to understand algorithmic knowledge and strategies in a cross-platform and cross-border context of Chinese and US-based platforms. All right, for the method, I adopted a mixed method of semi-structured in-depth interviews with 16 video creators and online observation of their content and platform activities. As part of the interview activity, I also adopted a participant-led cross-platform walkthrough that is adapted from the original walkthrough method. In other words, creators walk through their platforms with me and show me how they understand and use different platform features and functions. And a bit of the background of my participants. So they are located everywhere around the world, as you can see through this map, including Australia, China, South Korea, Europe, and North America. They vary in Wanhong tiers. So some of the participants, they are high-profile influencers with millions of subscribers, and some creators, they are having like a smaller online following, and they also vary in content categories. So among the creators that I recruited, 12 of them are China-born Chinese, and 4 of them are European Caucasian. I call my participants as transnational creators because they can speak at least 2 languages, and they all have overseas living experience that prompt them to adopt both Chinese and US platforms. And each participant use over 5 platforms, and the maximum number will be like 15. So I would like to summarize the findings before diving into the details. This research finds that transnational creators learn each platform's algorithmic preferences through cross-platform sensitivity, which also informs their practice of algorithmic adaptability in the ever-changing platform environment. So creators are like chameleons in a way, that's sensing what is going on with the environment and then adapt themselves in order to survive. Knowing the algorithms is about figuring out what type of content and practice are preferred and encouraged by a platform. It requires creators to develop what I call cross-platform sensitivity, which includes the ability to detect the differences and commonalities between among platforms. It's a process of learning through doing. As creators use more platforms, they can sort of tell the differences between platforms' algorithms. Creators also require to catch up with the changes and trends, like the quote that I put in here from a Toronto-based Chinese creator called Gloria, she noticed that YouTube and Instagram were trying to promote short videos and to compete with TikTok. So cross-platform sensitivity is also about gaining a holistic understanding of the dynamics in the multi-platform landscape and engaging in the wider network surrounding platform companies. So I find that some creators, they took a more collaborative approach with people working in Chinese platform companies. So these platform workers are 运营, operation staff. So they are working in creator and community operations in a platform company, and they actively recruit creators from their competitor platform companies to join them. So these platform representatives also provide insider knowledge and resources on manipulating the algorithm. Creators can make use of their platform context to increase their online visibility. That is why my participant, German creator Volker, shared with me a piece of advice he got. Platform, and then you start to have some success, then people and other platforms will recognize you, and then they will invite you to join theirs. With the algorithmic knowledge at hand, creators choose whether and how to please the algorithm preferences across platforms. Now, I want to move on with this idea of algorithmic adaptability, which captures creators' practice and strategies for navigating visibility. And there are 3 layers behind this concept. Firstly, it means adapting content strategies. Creators not only adjust their content for a platform, but they also need to be agile and adaptable in their strategy for cross-platform visibility and understand the taste of culturally diverse audiences. So here is a quote from a Shanghai-based British creator Luke. He said that he will use like Chinese memes on Bilibili, but then he will cut out the memes on YouTube when he's posting there. And then he said that he felt like that would make the algorithm better because that's a way of catering to different audiences. And secondly, adapting platform features. I was able to observe this part from the participant-led walkthrough activity. For example, I noticed that even though most platforms have the same feature of hashtags or tags, creators will use them and they also understood them differently. For example, on Xiaohongshu, one creator might include 10 hashtags in a post, but then on Weibo, they will only use 3 tags based on what they heard from their Weibo contacts. And they probably have different perceptions when it comes to YouTube and in terms of how many tags they want to include. So to deal with the rapidly evolving platform features and algorithms, creators must adapt to the continual changes. Lastly, adapting cross-border ecosystems of Chinese and US platforms. Creators have a level of agency to move in between different space, but they also face challenges with this idea of linguistic precarity. An example here is from a Shanghai-based Chinese creator, Charles Park, who find that platforms like YouTube are not effective in promoting Chinese language content, and not everyone can be popular like Li Ziqi. Some creators produce content in Chinese, they will face the dilemma of whether or not to shift to English or other languages when they want to grow their channel on YouTube. And for many participants, a multilingual approach not only adds to the workload, but also face challenges for their content getting picked up by the algorithms. Okay, so here are some concluding notes. So I basically just summarized the concept of cross-platform sensitivity and algorithmic adaptability here. I will argue that creators' cross-platform sensitivity and algorithmic adaptability show forms of everyday resistance to survive and cope with algorithmic power in a precarious multi-platform environment. So I hope these 2 concepts could help to understand this kind of massive web with lots of platforms are getting popular. All right, so that's all from me, and thank you for your attention.